guitar
I
and learn
know.
to play.
Oh, I feel the same way. And I also feel like there's something strange about the end of whether it's a Zoom get together with family or everybody coming for the weekend. We're having that this weekend. There's this real drop when they leave. And
Yeah.
it's because we're not going back to normal life. It's not like I'm going back and easing into whatever band or work that I have. It ends. It ends precipitously. And so I definitely have had to figure out how to not have a little down swoop when these end. I know exactly how you mean. And you had everybody, right, for a week?
Yeah, we had everybody for a weekend, which it, sometimes you're going, oh man, we just got to get through this, and you give your head a shake.
And we're just going into this. Finn's on the 1 o'clock ferry. He'll be here with his dog, go powerlifting and do all that stuff. And then next weekend it'll be Sean will come over from Salt Spring with the girls, and Kate will come up from Victoria, and they'll do a lap over one night where everybody's here. And then at the end of it, you go, oh my God, we got our house back.
Yeah.
That's
Very interesting. I
So,
like you say, Jim, when you have a dip, and it doesn't help if you go to a rabbit hole of listening to the news. That
no.
Okay.
compounds.
So here's what we're doing, Jose.
Okay.
I'm recording the.
Ease up, man.
I'm recording the Zoom, and we'll see how it looks. I'm recording on my board here, and this will be June the 20th, Saturday. No, so 13th. Yeah, 20, day before Father's Day. So your mindset is it's Father's Day weekend. That's all. Okay.
Oh, okay. So then this will be on June 20th, you think?
That's correct.
That's
Saturday,
the
June
solstice.
the 20th, the day before Father's Day. Okay.
When I said to everybody I was doing the Father's Day thing, nobody knew when Father's Day was. Nor did I. Rena said Father's Day. Anyway, nobody knew when it was. We've somehow given up any sense of preciousness. We're just nothing. Fathers are nothing.
Well, let's see how sharp you are. What significance then is this weekend besides being Father's Day? There's another important event.
The solstice?
I think it's the summer solstice.
The
solstice is big.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that Barney would agree. This is the first time either of us have sat in one place as the summer solstice has approached. And now we see, oh yeah, the days are getting longer. Oh, and here all this stuff is happening. I have never been so close to nature as I have during this isolation. There's little robin chickens up there. There's little ducklings in the pond. I've watched them all come. I feel like their dad. I don't know if they'll do anything for Father's Day for me, but they should.
Did you guys have?
That is so. Can I just comment on that? That is so where I'm at right now. I was thinking today, be careful what, the old adage, be careful what you wish for. There have been times where I think, I just would like to, just be in one place and quietly watch the seasons change. Like, oh boy, I've got that.
Yeah. One season, not 4.
I'm talking to the birds too. I'm just shy of naming them all. It's hilarious.
All right, you guys, I asked you to gather simply because we have this confluence of Father's Day and the summer solstice, and I kept thinking about Father's Day. Wow, rarely have I been the stew ever landed on Father's Day, and then I thought, well, it's the weekend, it's Father's Day weekend, and who do I know that's a father that could tell a compelling story about being a father and some of the things that have happened to them in their lifetime? And I thought of both of you for the families that you have raised and brought into this world, and specifically to just zero in on the fact that both have sons who've joined you in the business and on stage. So I want to work out from that. I think I went back and looked at a couple of really old interviews I did with both of you about some of them about that. I think, Jim, it was Clayoquot Wilderness, and you guys were there. I think it was the first time you actually had sung together. Is that true? You remember that?
First time that Devin and I had sung together? No.
Okay.
I don't even know when that was, but it might have been the gold medal plates trips that we did. But no, I just specifically about that. When Devin was still living at home, he did not, and I would suggest we play together. He did not like that. I irritated him. He didn't feel comfortable. And Devin is that kid that will not do anything. He will not show you learning. He will not show you himself learning how to do something. He'll only do it when he knows how to do it.
Okay.
So I guess that was it. But it kind of put me off for a while. And then when we did those gold medal plate strips and we played together, it became so easy. And we had so many intersection points. So that was for me. But I can remember when first watching Dustin play. Do you remember that one? I think it was at a festival. It might have been on the island. Do you remember, Barney? It might have been.
Wow.
Was it Courtney? Was it Courtney?
No, it wasn't Courtney. It was kind of a little bit out of the way. It was on somebody's farm, or it had the name like that. It was closer to Duncan, I think, but
Okay.
I remember.
But what
well.
what I remember was you asking your son to come up and play, and I'm thinking, I didn't know Dustin played. This could be. And he walked up. He was so confident, and as far as I knew, he'd never been on a stage with a crowd that big. And he sang Wagon Wheel, which I had never heard at that point. And it's just like he was born to do it. And I thought it was remarkable, really remarkable. It took me 20 years to be that comfortable on stage.
He always remembers that moment where you go, do you get nervous before you do? And he goes, no, it's fine. It's if it's the most natural place in the world to be. How true that is another question. But yeah, I mean, it's like it's so fun, Terry. I mean, there's such a repertoire that we all have collectively together, and playing with Sam and Devin is just I get so much kind of pride and joy from that. Just the same as I do for playing with Dustin. There's so much unspoken that musical communication between us, and I think we would never want it to be this way, but sometimes I think it's such a kind of great unit that it's intimidating for people when they parachute into it. It's like this band that's been together for a long time, but has all this family connection.
I agree.
I can only relate in one aspect, and that is my kids were never interested in me talking into a microphone or what I did. Wouldn't listen, couldn't care less. When did your son start to pay an interest in what you were doing? Or what do you remember? How far in?
Well, I remember very clearly when Dust first wanted to learn to play an instrument. He would have been about 13, and we were going to do a show with 5440 in the old hockey rink in Nanaimo. And Kath's dad had this 20-foot sailboat, kind of old sailboat, and I said, and our kids, the boys were getting a little rangy at that time, and I said, why don't we sail over to Nanaimo? And so we did, and it was on the way over. I had my guitar, and he said, could you teach me some chords?
Wow.
And so I did, and I taught him a few chords that enabled him to play Knocking on Heaven's Door and Mary Jane's Last Dance. And then we went over, and I tucked him in a hotel room and went to do the gig, and your head's, sort of, you're trying to just hold everything together. And at unbeknownst to me, my son Cody had come over with his friends, and they ended up coming to the gig and taking most of the rider with them, and it was just kind of a wild, crazy time. And that's when it first expressed interest. And I mean, I come from a family that really promoted going into the family business, so to speak. And I know for me, it was the complete opposite. If somebody in the family is interested in music, I'll give whatever help they'd like to have. But I certainly wasn't, going to encourage them to go in that direction.
Yeah, it's a very fine, Jim. You've said that before, that you want to help, but you can't help. You can't be seeing to be helping, but you want. It's just natural that you want to move your kids along in whatever they're interested in doing. And in this case, it was, for you, it was music. And
but I've sort of reconciled that now that for a long time I thought, why don't you want any of my advice? I've been doing this for a long time. And yet I also realized whatever experience I had was 25 years before their entrance into the music biz, not relatable. And I now have come to truly admire the do-it-yourself spirit. I admire the fact, I mean, part of it is that I feel now comfortable that we all play together. And so that's great. So that part's looked after. But the rest of it, Devin and Sam, so oldest and youngest, they lived in our house and they wrote songs and I never knew it. When I went to see Devin for the first time and he was playing solo piano, I mean, what a crazy thing to start out playing solo piano. He had all these songs. I didn't know where they came from. Now, I guess that also indicates that I was away a lot, but it was the same with Sam. Sam just did everything. He learned everything in his room, and they both learned really quickly. I remember Sam asking me if I could show him Travis picking, which is finger picking with your thumb bounding out the bass. I always loved Travis picking, and I was just leaving on a Friday, and I said, look, I'll just show you the basics. It was like I just took 5 minutes and showed him. And I said, I'll come back Sunday and we'll carry it on. And when I came back Sunday, I said, Sam, do you want a further lesson in Travis picking? He said, no, I got it. Got it. And he pulled out the guitar and he had it. So first of all, quick learners, but secondly, so many different resources. I mean, go onto YouTube, there's so many resources that we didn't have. I remember being entirely dependent on guitar players I knew to show me things. Yeah. But they don't have that. So, I like the fact they've been independent.
And then we come to the very, I love this part, songwriting.
Yeah.
Songwriting. Let me see, Barn. I remember you told me that you and Dusty, you finally sat down. You were going to write a song. You were going to try to write a song. And he said, I don't know, what do you got? And you said, I don't know, what do you got? And you were at two ends of the sentence trying to meet in the middle. And Jim, the same thing with you. I think you had the same sort of, did you take to writing with your son quickly?
I have never written with my sons. I'm the wrong guy to ask. It's better. No. I've never been asked, never been any interest from them.
No attempt.
I'm not. No. Okay. Better deal with Barn on this one.
Okay, Barn.
I tend to be really enjoying writing songs on my own for the last while as well.
I think that gets to the heart of it. Barney is too nice a guy to admit that writing songs with other people and with his sons, whatever, seems like the natural thing to do because you love them so much. But it's a solitary pleasure and it's a solitary pursuit.
Exactly.
And I mean, I was lucky to have a songwriting partner, but we haven't written together for 25 years. I mean, we just started out that way, but the rest of it, we all wrote separately and brought it together. There's something when somebody's, I don't understand how people do these whole Nashville trips where they go down in a writer's room and write with five or
Writing
six
by
people.
committee, yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing that appeals to me about that. I know they come up with good things and that's great, but that's the one thing. Okay, this is just a little aside and this will make me seem nasty, but okay. So when they have the songwriters, Juno songwriters, how can they call it? There's no songwriter anymore. You see the song and then you have 75 people. And think, well, I think you better change the name of this because it's not a songwriter award.
Yeah. So true. I feel the same. It's one of the, it can be frustrating from time to time, but it's one of the real pleasures in life. In fact, when last night was the first time I was alone in some time and I, had a glass of wine and I went and sat on the porch and I did just got right into it, into writing. And I like the solitary nature of it. What's going to happen with those songs? That's a confusing thing in this day. I don't know, but it's at the end of the day, it's a big part of what I do. And I don't like to, I've done a bit of that. Writing, and I wrote with another person for a long time, and that was a complicated relationship. And so when I became free of that, wrote with band members, and that was it's a part of the transition. I just got to a place where I really like doing it on my own. And it's not that I won't write with somebody, but it just seemed like it didn't necessarily work for me. But I like what Dustin and I got, and we might do it again, but just it'll unfold.
What happens when you run out of wine?
Hey, Barney, do you want me to tell Dustin you don't want to write with him? I can do that for you. I can send him a note just when we get off this.
Oh God. Speaking of advice, I remember the first time the first band he put together they called it Beaver Trap. And, I went to their gig. Could you believe that? I mean, and we went down, the gig was at Raglan's at the bottom of Lonsdale. Terry, you might know it. And I had a moment after, like, they just got a bass player in the last minute and the gig was just such a disaster. And I remember saying to Dust, I said, I'm not going to give you a lot of advice. I don't even want any advice, but I'm not going to give you a lot. But one thing I will say is just always make sure your bass player is rehearsed. And it's one of the sort of profound, simple pieces of advice. And that anybody else can kind of make mistakes without the audience by and large knowing, but the bass player, just make sure they know what they're doing. Yeah.
It's good advice.
Jim, where was the first time you and your son got up on stage together?
Well, I think that we would have done it informally through the Gold Medal Plate trips. So Gold Medal Plate trips are raise money for Olympic athletes, and we take these very exotic trips. And the boys joined me because they were. I think the beginning they joined because that was a way of keeping my involvement or our involvement, Barney. But then it became this great way to play music together because we just played in the bar with no amplification. So once we had that under our belts, I think the first time, Devin opened for Blue Rodeo or me. Yep. I can't remember. I've been on stage with Devin at Massey Hall. He was part of the amphitheater show last year. He's done a lot of stuff with Sam toured with my band this year. That I think was a first for him. So it's been in the last 5 or 6 years, usually with touring. Usually they I'm sort of the minor leagues. They start with me and then they work their way up to Blue Rodeo. So, yeah.
But what do you remember about the feeling?
I think that I feel immensely proud and immensely absorbed by it. So I know they all, these gold medal plate strips have been very good learning because everybody that is on the trip has gone out to dinner and they're drinking and they're hammered, not hammered, but they're, you know, they're on holiday. And both Barney and I have to impress upon the boys that we're not. Like, we have to play maybe at the end of the night. And there's never been a single time when they have let me or us down.
Yeah.
So I think that work ethic that they absorb from those trips, when I watch them on stage, I don't worry that they're going to blow it. I know they're going to do fine. And so I just watch and I just enjoy.
How about you, Barn?
That was so well put, because, you know, it's about instilling, I think one of your questions, what have you given them? And I think a huge part of it is just a work ethic. And that's what really impresses me. And I feel very much the same way Jim does. And when I'm watching it go down, and I share that watching Devin and Sam too, I realize, you know, people will come up to me afterwards and say, oh, you know, the look on your face. And I feel like I was trying to describe it, but I think I'm just really happy. And there's a sense of joy and, you know, I'm proud. I mean, I'm proud of all my kids and what they do. And I think they all have a good work ethic too. I'm really proud of that. But yeah, I just watch it and it just makes me smile.
How is this? A couple of questions. I'll let you go. How is this relationship showing up in songs? Jim, have you written lyrics that speak to this relationship?
Absolutely. I've written lyrics that, you know, early in the career, you did what you had to do to keep the career going.
Yeah.
And you just had to find a way to accept that although you were away a lot, you hoped you weren't doing any damage. And then when you were there full time. But that's not true. You know, kids do suffer a little bit from the deprivation of one of their parents. So I've written songs about that, about leaving somebody on their own when perhaps you should have been there. But I think more as adults, I mean, they have as you know, all children do, they have very defined characters. Some very stoic, some very emotional. And so I've written songs about my kids, my daughter as well, that speak to their character and the way I observe them. And so, I mean, they've been very fertile writing resource.
Do they recognize themselves, do you think?
Oh yeah. I would say of the 4 people in my family that I write about, my 3 kids and my wife, the 3 kids recognize. My daughter would absolutely say, yes, I get that. And the 2 boys would be a little more reticent. And my wife would not even notice. Not even notice. No, I could say her name and she wouldn't notice.
I had a moment with Kath the other day. By the way, she left yesterday. We'd spent 95 days together. And I haven't, my best recollection ever with her. And certainly not in the last 40 years or 30, 40. But there was one moment I was saying, you know, like, I forget how it played out, but you know, that such and such a song, that one I was referring to, and she said, which one is that? And I said, you know, the one I wrote about you.
It's so true.
It's like, okay, that one just went.
I know.
Yeah.
Where were you?
That's actually good. You know, I think it makes sense, because you're talking about a complicated relationship when you're talking about your relationship with your spouse. And I know in my case, I'm talking about it from a very specific point of view, my point of view. And that's not always the other person's point of view. So it's more complicated. And I think that Rena has learned how to just keep it at arm's length and not to be affected by it one way or another. Whereas the kids they're not afraid of me saying something about them that's defining. I don't think they care.
That's so true, Jim. I mean, I think it's a protective, it's part of, it's a layer of protection, you know. Sometimes you want your spouse to just be one of the big fans, you know, and just talk about how it's so great. You play me, would you sit and serenade me? Like, it's so complicated that they can't go there. I mean, they'll talk, I know Kath will talk about some other, you know, the song by another artist, just how moving it is. And there's part of you that's just a little bit of a, you know, pinprick into the heart, but I totally understand why this happens. It completely makes sense for me.
Okay, Barney, is anybody coming back for Father's Day, or are you by yourself?
No, people will be back here, or we'll go down to Bowen and see
Will they
family.
be bringing wine? Because
I sure as hell hope so. Yeah, for sure.
Could be a long summer. Jim, what about you?
This weekend there's people coming up. Well, I think we have 2 of our kids coming up. Oh no, just 1. That's right. See, our daughter, her boyfriend is sort of he had pneumonia when he was young, very seriously, so he's been compromised. So they don't get together with us at all. But Devin's coming up, and then I guess we'll see Sam next week. I don't know. I'll be here for the foreseeable future.
And the last question, if you were a betting person, when do you think you'll see a stage again? Real, and we will be an audience again. How long will it take to heal?
I think it's going to be till the winter. We have planned on, I mean, we have things that could happen in the fall, but we have dates booked in February.
Go.
I don't know. Hopefully.
Mark?
What do you think, Barn?
I would say the same. I mean, BC is a little bit, it might open up a bit more. So I've, the whole Cariboo Express thing that's done. I'm looking at January, February, but I might try and do a little something in October. But it's just really
Well, I noticed that there's going to be patio play in Vancouver. I mean, I noticed somebody sent me one from Whistler, and that was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So we're not there in Toronto, but I think that people that are playing to fewer than 500 people, they may get a chance even at the end of the summer somewhere, and certainly in the fall. But if you're looking for a bigger audience than that,
by the way, Jim, have you heard the Radio Grand music?
The what?
Radio Grand. It's a spin-off group from Barney.
Oh, it's Colin, Wendy, and Tom. Yeah, Colin, Aaron, and Wendy.
It's
Tom.
really
What a
good.
great record. Oh,
It's
gosh,
really
yeah.
good.
Oh wow! No, I didn't hear about it. No.
And I said to them, "So are you going to tour?"
Barney doesn't tell me anything anymore.
No. And I said, "Are you going to tour the record?" They said, "No. We're too busy doing our other jobs. There's no way we're going to tour this." So if it happens, it'll happen with Barney. Happy Father's Day. Have a great weekend and a summer.
Yeah, happy Father's Day
Jim?
to you too. We didn't get a chance to talk about your kids, but thank you for doing
Don't
this.
worry
It's nice to see both of you.
And both of you wash your hands, okay?
Well, yeah, thanks, Terry, and always nice to see you, Jim.
You too, buddy.
It's such a big hole.
Hey, Barney, you don't need to wash your hands. You're all alone.
So true.
Thank you. Thank you, boys.
All right. See you later, lads.
You guys, bye-bye.
Goodbye.